What's up, warm up and workout? It's me, Dr. Sean, with a bonus episode for you this week. Friday, May 31st, you guys are going to be doing squat snatches. It's going to get heavy. So what I want to make sure you're doing is the appropriate movement screens for the members of your gym. I remember 2016 when squat snatches came out in the open, people were getting mangled. Dave Castro said they had to squat all the way to depth, so they did. They ended up with hip pain, low back pain, neck pain, and shoulder pain. Not in your gym. What we want to do first and foremost is make sure that everyone who's doing squat snatches should be. I understand that you have your competitive, your RX, and your scaled, but that's not how we're going to decide. First, we're going to look at movement, then we'll go look at ability. The two tests that we want you guys doing are going to be supine hip flexion. It looks like this. This test is called supine hip flexion. So we're having the athlete lie on their back, and we're going to be looking to see how much passive range of motion they have through their hips. Now, if somebody had any limitation on the knee tests, be careful with how you grab. We'll talk about that when we get there. So in a normal athlete, I'm going to go ahead and put my hand underneath Veronica's back. She passed all of the knee tests, and all I'm going to do is drive her knee towards her chest. Now we're looking for two things. Number one, can I get her thigh to her ribs without any kind of pain or pinching in her hip? So let me know, Veronica, do you feel any pain or pinching in your hip as we go? No, she's good. The second thing I'm looking for is, does her back flatten down hard into my hand? There's gonna be some flattening for everybody, but we're looking for, you'll know the difference when you feel it. Someone who's aggressively pushing their back into the floor, you wanna stop when that starts. The third and last thing we're gonna look for is, it's going to be hard for Veronica to demonstrate, but this leg will drag sometimes, lift, and what that means is that the whole pelvis is moving and we're done with the range of motion. So full range of motion for supine hip flexion is the thigh approximates with the ribs without any kind of pinching in the front or aggressive flattening of the back. Something to note is when you do this straight on, a lot of people will have some trouble. If you bring it out a little bit, they might perform a little bit better. So just because they test limited at first does not mean that they're limited. Check a different leg slot. The reason why we're doing supine hip flexion is because we want to make sure that it is safe and responsible for your athletes to be landing in the bottom of a squat where they have very little control over what that position is going to be. If they don't have full hip range of motion, it doesn't matter how much they warm up, how much they manipulate, band and distract. They need to do this to a power and then overhead squat it down as far as they're comfortable going. The second test that we're looking at here is ankle dorsiflexion, because a lot of athletes wind up with shoulder pain simply because their ankles don't move. Let's show you what it looks like. This movement test is called ankle dorsiflexion. So what you'll see is that we've set a line on the ground. The front of this line is 4.5 inches, and in this case, the back is about 5 because this piece of tape is about a ½ inch thick. If you use an inch thick piece of tape, you'll have 4.5 and 5.5, and you can measure men and women on the same piece. So Veronica, full range of motion for you is gonna be 4.5 inches from the upright. So what we're gonna do, set her up, no shoes on. Toe is going to be towards the end of the tape closest to the rig, and all she's going to do is bend this knee, try to get her knee to the upright without her heel lifting off the ground. You can see her heel is still down. Now, come on back out. Let's just go ahead and do that one more time. Go ahead one more time for him. So that represents full range of motion. So Veronica's demonstrating that she's a bit of a show-off. She can go even past the rig, which is great. In some cases, people will come up a little bit short, so can you show me what short would look like on this, Veronica? Go ahead and now stop there. Now your heel starts to lift off the ground. Okay, that's fine. What we would have those people do, stand back up, we would let them know that they have full range of motion, but that we want to get an exact number. If you have access to tape, bring their foot a little bit closer and keep going until you find the maximum range of motion that they can go on each side. This test is called ankle dorsiflexion. The reason why athletes wind up with shoulder pain when their ankles don't move is because if they end up having to forward dump their torso, they end up doing a heavy pass through with the barbell. It's not a shoulder problem, it's an ankle problem in a lot of cases, and it manifests as a shoulder symptom. So if somebody doesn't have full ankle range of motion, it's not necessarily a sign that we're not going to let them do the squat snatches, but it is a sign that we want to correlate with symptoms. Are they experiencing any kind of discomfort today? And then make some athletic coaching decisions on the fly. You might be asking yourself, why aren't we doing the shoulder tests? It's a snatch day after all, it's overhead. Well, the shoulder flexion test and the shoulder abduction test that you guys have seen in the past on these videos are really not all that relevant on a snatch. Reason being, where are your arms going to be when you snatch? kind of out over here. Most people, unless if they're limited with an egregious range of motion deficiency, are going to be able to snatch without issue, without a few exceptions here and there. So that's why we're eliminating the shoulder tests for this. If you think that you want to add them in, by all means, feel free to do it. But the two most relevant tests, hip flexion and ankle dorsiflexion. Happy snatching.